For many years, I believed I was an agnostic. It's only recently that I realized I'm actually an atheist, or perhaps an agnostic atheist. But before I explain this any further, let's first define agnostic. What does it actually mean? So according to Cambridge Dictionary, agnostic means someone who does not know or believes that it is impossible to know if a God exists. So an agnostic person doesn't know if a God exists or if it's even possible to ever know this. Now, before I get into this, let's see where agnostic positions among other related terms. So first we have agnostic, someone who doesn't know if a God exists. Then on the opposite side we have gnostic, someone who does know that a God exists. We also have the atheist, who doesn't believe a God exists. And lastly, we have yet again on the opposite side, the theist, who does believe a God exists. So here we can see that the four terms can be divided into two categories, the knowing camp and the believing camp. And it's not strange that we have these two categories because there's a clear difference between knowing and believing. To know if there is a God requires evidence that we can validate or verify through empirical means. If we don't have that information, all that's left is to believe there is a God. That's why this is called faith. Faith is a firm belief in something for which there is no evidence. And this brings me to the first point about agnosticism that I want to make. If there is no proof for the existence of a God, aren't we all at least agnostic? Isn't it rather a given to be agnostic? Because agnosticism, thus far, basically supports the fact that there is no evidence for the existence of a God. The final point I want to make about agnosticism, which could potentially make this term impractical, is the second part of the definition that states that an agnostic thinks it's impossible to know if a God exists. To think it's impossible to know if there is a God is simply unfounded and unscientific. Sure, you can believe it's impossible to know, but at the same time, we don't know if it's impossible to know if there is a God. To say it's impossible denies the chance of finding proof in the future. The question of a God's existence may lie outside the realm of what we can currently prove or disprove, but perhaps future discoveries could shed light on this question. So if an agnostic simply refers to not knowing if there is a God, then I'm definitely an agnostic atheist, meaning I don't know if there is a God, but I also don't believe in it. If agnostic also refers to the idea that it's impossible to know if there is a God, then I'm not an agnostic atheist, unless I want to be an arrogant or perhaps a foolish atheist. Speaking of atheism, at the start of this video I said that I realized that I'm actually an atheist rather than an agnostic. But is that even accurate? In my next video, part 2, I will explain why I'm not always an atheist, and I will make it even more clear why being an agnostic alone is unrealistic.